Sarah Miller clutched her coffee mug tightly as she stared out the kitchen window at the maple trees lining her parents' driveway. The familiar view now felt different, heavier somehow, with her father gone. The house in Westbrook, Connecticut had been her childhood home, but today it felt like disputed territory. Her younger brother Adam's car pulled up, followed minutes later by their older sister Rebecca's SUV. Sarah took a deep breath. This was the first time all three siblings would be in the same room since the funeral 2 weeks ago. "Is that fresh coffee?" Rebecca asked as she strode through the door without knocking, her designer boots clicking against the hardwood floor. At 42, Rebecca had the confident air of someone who made 6 figures and wanted everyone to know it. "Just made it," Sarah replied, reaching for another mug. "Adam just got here too." Adam entered more cautiously, looking tired in his rumpled button-down and jeans. "Hey," he said quietly, giving Sarah a quick hug. At 35, the youngest of the 3 siblings had always been the peacekeeper. "Mr. Hoffman will be here at 11, Sarah reminded them, glancing at the clock. Their father's lawyer was coming to discuss the will, and it was already 10:45. Rebecca paced around the kitchen island. "I still don't understand why Dad didn't just split everything evenly. That would have been the sensible thing to do." "Maybe he did," Adam said, accepting a coffee from Sarah. "We don't know what's in the will yet." Rebecca snorted. "Mom said he was making changes right up until..." She left the sentence hanging. Their father's sudden heart attack had caught everyone off guard. Before anyone could respond, the doorbell rang. Sarah went to answer it, returning moments later with Walter Hoffman, a balding man in his 60s who had been their father's attorney and friend for over 30 years. "Rebecca, Sarah, Adam." He greeted each of them with a solemn nod. "I know this is difficult, but your father was very specific about his wishes." They gathered around the dining room table, the same one where they'd shared Sunday dinners growing up. Sarah noticed the small chip on the corner from when Adam had dropped a serving dish 20 years ago. Their father had laughed it off. "It gives the table character," he'd said. Mr. Hoffman placed his briefcase on the table and removed a thick folder. "Before I begin, your father wanted me to give you this letter." He handed Sarah an envelope. With trembling fingers, she opened it and read aloud. "My dear children, if you're reading this, I'm no longer with you. I've lived a good life, but I haven't always been the father you deserved. I made mistakes, played favorites at times, and didn't always see clearly how my actions affected you. What I'm about to do may seem unfair to some of you, but I've thought long and hard about it. I believe this is what's best for our family and the business I built. Please try to understand and, more importantly, try to remember that your siblings first before anything else. All my love, Dad." Sarah's voice cracked on the final words. The room fell silent except for Adam clearing his throat and Rebecca drumming her fingers on the table. "Well," Mr. Hoffman continued, "as you know, your father built Miller Construction from nothing into one of the most respected firms in New England. The company, the house, and various investments constitute the bulk of his estate." Rebecca leaned forward. As the only sibling who had worked at Miller Construction, she had always assumed she would inherit the company. "Your father has left the house to be shared equally among the 3 of you," Mr. Hoffman said. Rebecca visibly relaxed, nodding as if this confirmed her expectations. "As for Miller Construction," the lawyer continued, "your father has left 60% ownership to Adam." "What?" Rebecca's coffee mug hit the table with a sharp crack. "That's ridiculous. Adam knows nothing about construction. He's a high school English teacher, for God's sake." Adam looked as shocked as Rebecca. "There must be some mistake." Mr. Hoffman shook his head. "No mistake. The remaining 40% is split evenly between Rebecca and Sarah, giving each of you 20%. Sarah sat back, stunned. She had never worked a day at the family business either, having reason. Rebecca laughed bitterly. Oh sure, take Adam's side. You always do. I'm not taking sides, Sarah protested. I'm as surprised as you are. Are you? Rebecca's eyes narrowed. Did you know about this? Is that why you came home so often these past few months? Sarah felt heat rising to her face. That's not fair. I came home because Dad wasn't feeling well and needed help. While the rest of us were working, Rebecca shot back. Stop it, both of you, Adam interrupted. This isn't helping. He turned to Mr. Hoffman. Is there anything else we should know? The lawyer nodded gravely. Your father left specific instructions about the safe in his office. He wanted all three of you to open it together after I leave. He handed Adam a small envelope. The combination is in here. Rebecca paced the room, her arms crossed tightly across her chest. This is insane. 15 years I've given to that company, and he hands control to Adam? Adam, who hasn't shown the slightest interest in the business. What was he thinking? I don't know, Adam said, looking down at the envelope in his hands. But I think we need to find out what's in that safe. Mr. Hoffman gathered his papers. I'll leave you to it. Your father was a good man. Whatever his reasons, I'm sure he believed he was doing the right thing. After he left, the three siblings sat in tense silence. The grandfather clock in the hallway ticked loudly, marking each second of their shared discomfort. Finally, Adam stood up. Let's go see what's in the safe. They moved to their father's study, a wood-paneled room that smelled of leather and the cigars he occasionally indulged in despite their mother's objections before she passed 5 years ago. The safe was behind a painting of the Connecticut shoreline, a family vacation spot from their childhood. Adam opened the envelope and read out the combination. Sarah turned the dial, and with a soft click, the safe door swung open. Inside was a single USB drive and another envelope labeled, "Watch the video first." The siblings exchanged glances. Whatever their father had left for them, it was clear their relationship would never be the same after today. The family business that had once been a source of pride now threatened to tear them apart. As Sarah plugged the USB drive into their father's computer, she wondered if they would find answers, or only more questions. The computer hummed to life, its soft blue glow illuminating the siblings' faces in the dim study. Sarah clicked on the single video file on the USB drive. Their father's face appeared on screen, and Rebecca inhaled sharply. Robert Miller looked tired in the video, the lines around his eyes deeper than they remembered. He sat in this very study, wearing the faded red sweater he'd gotten for Christmas 3 years ago. Hello, kids, he began, his voice slightly raspy. If you're watching this, then Walter has read my will, and you're probably confused, maybe even angry. He looked directly at the camera, as if he could see Rebecca's furious expression. Especially you, Becca. I know this isn't what you expected. Rebecca crossed her arms tighter, her jaw clenched. I need to explain some things that I should have told you years ago, their father continued. Things about the company, about our family, and about why I've made the decisions I have. He took a sip from a glass of water before continuing. When I started Miller Construction 38 years ago, I wasn't alone. My best friend, standing up. This isn't about our usual family drama. This is about something serious, something illegal that Dad did. Rebecca's phone buzzed. She glanced at it, then grabbed her jacket. I have to go. We have a site meeting for the Glastonbury project in an hour. You're leaving? Now, Sarah asked incredulously. Unlike you two, I have a company to run, Rebecca replied. A company that employs 37 people who depend on us for their livelihoods. So yes, I'm going to make sure we don't lose the Glastonbury contract while we figure this mess out. Rebecca, Adam said, his voice measured. We need to talk about this. About Marcus Townsend. Rebecca paused at the door. I'll tell you what we're going to do. Nothing. Not yet. We need time to think, to get legal advice. For all we know, this Marcus person could be some con artist who manipulated Dad in his final years. Dad wasn't senile, Sarah protested. No, but he was clearly consumed by guilt, Rebecca countered. People in that state are vulnerable. She looked at her siblings, her expression hardening. I've worked too hard to let this company go down because of a mistake Dad made decades ago. I need you both to promise you won't contact Marcus Townsend until we agree on a course of action. Adam crossed his arms. And if we don't agree? Rebecca's eyes flashed. Then I'll fight you with everything I have. I built my life around this company while you were off teaching poetry and Sarah was changing bedpans. Don't think for a second I'll let you destroy it. With that, she left, the front door slamming behind her. Sarah and Adam stood in the silent study, the weight of their father's confession hanging between them. What do we do now? Sarah asked. Adam picked up one of the letters from Marcus Townsend. I think we need to learn more about Marcus and about what really happened on that Westbrook Harbor project. Sarah nodded slowly. Rebecca's going to fight us every step of the way. I know, Adam said, his voice resolute. But Dad trusted me with this for a reason. I can't just ignore it. Sarah looked at her brother with newfound respect. Adam had always been the family peacemaker, the one who avoided conflict at all costs. Now he stood straighter, more determined than she'd ever seen him. I'll help you, she said, squeezing his arm. But we should be prepared. This could tear our family apart. Adam glanced at their father's empty chair. Maybe it already has. Maybe it has been for 30 years, and we just didn't know it. As they gathered the documents to leave, Sarah noticed a business card that had fallen to the floor. It was for Townsend Building Solutions, with Marcus's cell phone number handwritten on the back. She slipped it into her pocket without showing Adam. Whatever they decided to do next, she wanted to be prepared. Outside, the late autumn sun cast long shadows across the driveway. The maple trees that had seemed so comforting this morning now felt like silent witnesses to decades of family secrets. Sarah wondered what other revelations might be waiting for them, and whether their family could survive them. The conference room at Miller Construction felt smaller than usual as the three siblings sat around the table 3 days later. Rain pelted against the windows, matching the stormy atmosphere inside. Rebecca had arranged the meeting, insisting they needed to get on the same page before making any decisions. I've spoken with Diane in legal, Rebecca began without. I've been thinking about that. We only have Dad's word that Jack was a full partner. There's no paperwork, no legal documentation. Are you serious? Sarah asked, incredulous. You think Dad made that up? I think Dad was old and riddled with guilt about something that happened decades ago, Rebecca countered. Maybe Jack Townsend was involved at the beginning, but we have no proof he was ever a full 50-50 partner. Adam leaned forward. That's exactly the kind of thinking Dad was worried about. This isn't about legal technicalities. It's about doing what's right. What's right? Rebecca's voice rose slightly. What's right is protecting the 37 families that depend on this company for their livelihoods. What's right is honoring what Dad built over 40 years, not throwing it away over one mistake. It wasn't just a mistake, Sarah interjected. Dad deliberately let an innocent man take the blame for his actions. He ruined Jack's career. Rebecca stood up, pacing the length of the table. Look, I'm not saying what Dad did was okay, but it was 30 years ago. The company has grown, evolved. None of the current contracts or assets have anything to do with Jack Townsend. Except they do, Adam said quietly. Because without that pivotal moment, without Dad letting Jack take the fall, Miller Construction might not exist as we know it today. He looked up at his sister. Every dollar this company has earned since then has been tainted by that decision. Rebecca slammed her hand on the table. That's absurd. By that logic, we should all be giving away our inheritances, our educations, everything Dad ever provided for us, because the money came from the company. An uncomfortable silence fell over the room as her words sank in. Sarah finally spoke. Maybe we should be thinking about that. Oh, that's rich coming from you, Rebecca scoffed. When was the last time you refused Dad's help with your rent? Or that loan for your nursing school? Sarah flushed but held her ground. I'm not claiming to be perfect. I'm just saying we can't ignore where the money came from. And I'm saying we need perspective, Rebecca insisted. Dad made a terrible choice 30 years ago. He tried to make it right in his own way. But dismantling the company won't help anyone. Adam had been quieter than usual, studying some papers he'd brought. I've been doing some research on the Westbrook Harbor project, he said. I found the old news articles about the structural issues. They almost made it sound like Jack was negligent, maybe even corrupt. Rebecca nodded. Exactly my point. For all we know, Jack might have actually been responsible. Dad might have been protecting him at first, then felt guilty later when things went south. That's not what Dad said in the video, Sarah pointed out. Dad was old and sick, Rebecca replied. Memory plays tricks. Adam pulled out more papers. I also found these. Records of property purchases around Westbrook Harbor right before the development was announced. Someone made a fortune buying up land that suddenly became prime real estate. So, Rebecca asked, the purchases were made by shell companies, but I traced them back to their source. Adam looked directly at Rebecca. One of the largest investors was Victor Harmon, Mom's brother. Rebecca went very still. Uncle Vic, what are you suggesting? I'm suggesting there was more to this story than we know, Adam said carefully. Maybe Dad falsified those documents because he was under at a crossroads, and with it, their family. The comfortable life they had known, the relationships they had taken for granted, all of it now balanced on the edge of a knife. As they walked out, Adam paused in the lobby, looking at the large photo of their father breaking ground on the company's first major project. A much younger, Robert Miller smiled confidently at the camera, a hard hat on his head and a shovel in his hands. For the first time, Adam noticed another man standing just behind him, his face in partial shadow, but unmistakably Jack Townsend. "He was there all along," Adam murmured. "We just never really looked." Sarah followed his gaze. "What do you think happens now?" Adam took a deep breath. "I don't know, but I think Dad was right about one thing. We're siblings first. Somehow, we need to remember that." As they stepped out into the rain, neither felt certain of anything except that the family they had known was changing forever, and whatever emerged from this storm would be built on different foundations than the ones they had always taken for granted. The Portland sky hung gray and heavy as Sarah and Adam sat in the rental car outside Townsend Building Solutions. The modest office sat in an industrial district, its blue-painted facade showing signs of recent renovation. "Should we call Rebecca again?" Sarah asked, checking her phone for the 5th time that morning. Adam shook his head. "We've tried every day this week. She's made her choice." 3 days had passed since their confrontation at Miller Construction. Rebecca had filed preliminary paperwork contesting the will, and their family lawyer had informed them she was seeking a temporary injunction to prevent any discussions with Marcus Townsend. The injunction hadn't come through yet, which was why they were in Portland now, racing against the legal clock. "Let's go," Adam said, opening his door. "Before I lose my nerve." The office reception area was small but well kept, with framed photos of completed projects lining the walls. A young woman looked up from the front desk. "Can I help you?" "We're here to see Marcus Townsend," Sarah said. "We have an appointment." Adam and Sarah Miller. The receptionist's eyes widened slightly at their last name. "Of course. He's expecting you. Follow me." She led them to a modest conference room where a man stood looking out the window. He turned as they entered, and both siblings felt a jolt of recognition. Marcus Townsend was about 50, with close-cropped gray hair and his father's strong jawline, recognizable from the photos they'd seen. He wore jeans and a flannel shirt with the sleeves rolled up, his hands calloused from physical work. "The Millers," he said, his voice neither friendly nor hostile. "I've been wondering when this day would come." He gestured to the chairs. "Please sit." As they settled, Sarah noticed the wedding band on his finger and family photos on his desk, a woman with warm brown skin and 2 college-aged kids. A normal life, built far from the wreckage their father had created. "Thank you for meeting with us," Adam began. "I know this must be complicated." Marcus gave a short laugh. "That's one word for it." He studied them. "You look like him. Both of you. Less than your sister, from the photos I've seen, but still." "You've researched us?" Sarah asked. "Wouldn't you?" Marcus replied. "When a man tells you his dying wish is to make amends for destroying your father's life, you get curious." "Mr. Miller, my father lost everything when yours let him take the blame. His reputation, his business, his standing in the community." He stopped, collecting himself. "Do you know what it's like to watch your father, a proud, capable man, suddenly unable to find work? To see your family lose their home? To move across the country and start over with nothing?" Neither sibling spoke. "My father never fully recovered," Marcus continued. "Oh, he rebuilt something here. Taught me the trade. But he was a shell of who he used to be. The betrayal broke something in him." He looked directly at them. "So no, I don't know what fair looks like 30 years later." "We're so sorry," Sarah said softly. "We had no idea about any of this until a week ago." Marcus nodded, his expression softening slightly. I believe you. Your father said you were all good people. He seemed genuinely remorseful. Not all of us agree on how to handle this, Adam admitted. Our sister Rebecca is resistant. She's challenging the will. I'm not surprised, Marcus said. Your father warned me this might happen. She has the most to lose. Adam looked confused. He talked to you about Rebecca? Marcus nodded. We had several long conversations. He was worried about how she would react. Said she'd devoted her life to the company. That she'd see me as a threat. She does, Sarah confirmed. She's doing everything she can to stop this conversation from happening. Marcus returned to his seat. So what exactly are you proposing? Adam took a deep breath. Our father left me controlling interests specifically so I could find a way to bring you in. As a partner, as a shareholder, however it makes sense. Marcus studied them. And you do that? Potentially give up part of your inheritance to someone you've never met, over something that happened before you were born. It's the right thing to do, Sarah said simply. Marcus was quiet for a long moment. I need to show you something. He opened a drawer and pulled out a worn leather journal. This was my father's. Your dad asked about it last year, but I wasn't ready to share it then. He opened to a marked page and passed it across the table. Read this entry from March 1989. Adam read aloud. Bob came to me today, admitted he falsified the survey documents. Said Vic Harmon and the other investors would ruin him if the project fell through. Told him we need to come clean, but he begged for time. Said he'd figure out a solution that wouldn't destroy us both. I want to believe him. Sarah looked up sharply. This proves Uncle Vic was involved. Marcus nodded. My father knew about Victor Harmon's conflict of interest. That's why your father was so desperate to cover things up. It wasn't just about the project failing. It was about exposing widespread corruption. But why didn't your father use this when he was accused? Adam asked. He tried, Marcus said bitterly. But Victor Harmon was powerful in Connecticut back then. The journal disappeared from our house right after my father was accused. This is a different one, his personal journal. He kept it hidden. Sarah felt dizzy with the implications. So our uncle was part of ruining your father? According to my father, yes, Marcus said. The morning before the structural issues were made public, your father came to our house in tears, begged my father to leave town, said Victor's associates had threatened our family. His voice tightened. My father refused to run. The next day, the doctored inspection reports how Miller Construction was built on betrayal and fraud. The Glastonbury project is on hold pending a review. 3 other clients have called for emergency meetings. She slammed a newspaper down on the table. And all because you two couldn't wait to play savior with Marcus Townsend. We didn't leak this, Sarah insisted. Right, Rebecca scoffed. You just happened to fly to Portland, and suddenly the whole sordid story is in the press. One of the lawyers cleared his throat. Perhaps we should discuss this privately? Rebecca nodded tersely. Give us the room, please. Once they were alone, Adam spoke. Rebecca, we need to talk about Uncle Vic. Rebecca froze. What about him? He was involved in the Westbrook Harbor project, Sarah explained. He was on the zoning board while secretly investing in properties there. That's ridiculous, Rebecca said, but her voice lacked conviction. Marcus Townsend showed us his father's journal, Adam continued. It confirmed everything. Uncle Vic pressured Dad to falsify those documents. When Jack Townsend wanted to come clean, Uncle Vic's associates threatened his family. Rebecca sank into a chair. I don't believe this. It's true, Sarah said gently. And we think Uncle Vic might have leaked the story to control the narrative. Have you spoken to him? Adam asked. Rebecca shook her head slowly. He called this morning, said he was horrified by the allegations. Offered to help with damage control. She looked up, a new understanding dawning. He was too calm, like he'd prepared for this moment. Because he has, Adam said. For 30 years. Rebecca's phone buzzed. She glanced at it, and her face paled. It's Uncle Vic says he's downstairs and wants to talk. The siblings exchanged glances. Let him come up, Adam decided. It's time we heard his side of this. 5 minutes later, Victor Harmon strode into the conference room. At 70, he remained imposing, tall, silver-haired, impeccably dressed in a tailored suit. His resemblance to their late mother was striking. Quite a mess you kids have stirred up, he said without preamble. Us, Rebecca challenged. The Hartford Examiner seems to know an awful lot about what happened in 1989. Vic smiled thinly. Ancient history being dredged up. Unfortunate timing. Cut the crap, Uncle Vic, Adam said, surprising his sisters with his directness. We know you were investing in Westbrook Harbor while serving on the zoning board. We know you pressured Dad to falsify those documents. We know about the threats to the Townsend family. Victor's smile didn't waver, but his eyes hardened. Interesting theory. Completely unprovable, of course. Is it? Sarah asked. Jack Townsend kept journals. His son has them. Something flickered across Victor's face, the first hint of genuine concern. Journals can be fabricated, especially when there's money at stake. Why are you here, Uncle Vic? Rebecca asked wearily. He straightened his already perfect tie. To offer help, of course. This unpleasantness affects the family name. My name. I have connections with several major news outlets. I can help contain this. In exchange for what? Adam asked. Victor looked genuinely wounded. Must there be an exchange? Can't I simply wish to help my nieces and nephew in their time of need? You've never done anything without an angle, Rebecca said. Notion of integrity. He chose your futures, your education, your comfortable lives. He looked pointedly at Rebecca. Your career. Rebecca flinched. And now you want to throw it all away? Victor continued. For what? To ease your consciences? To play at being righteous? To tell the truth, Sarah said firmly. Victor laughed. The truth. Such a malleable concept. He looked around the conference room. Do you think any successful company gets built without compromise? Without hard choices? Your father understood that. Our father regretted what he did every day, Adam countered. It ate at him for 30 years. That was his weakness, Victor dismissed. Sentimentality. It's why I had to step in back then. The admission hung in the air between them. Rebecca stood slowly. You need to leave, Uncle Vic. He blinked, genuinely surprised. Rebecca, be reasonable. I'm offering you a way out of this mess. The same way out you offered Dad? She asked. The one that destroyed a man's life and haunted him until he died. Don't be dramatic, Victor scoffed. Jack Townsend was fine. He built another life in Oregon. And your father became a success. He was never fine, a new voice said from the doorway. All heads turned to see Marcus Townsend standing there, his expression resolute. How did you get in here? Victor demanded. I invited him, Rebecca said quietly. Sarah and Adam stared at their sister in shock. You did what? Adam asked. Rebecca met their gaze steadily. I called him this morning after I saw the news. Asked him to come to Connecticut. We need to end this, once and for all. Marcus stepped into the room, his eyes fixed on Victor Harmon. Mr. Harmon, I've waited a long time to meet you. Victor's composure slipped momentarily before he recovered. Mr. Townsend, this is a private family discussion. That's fitting, Marcus replied. Since your private family discussion destroyed my family 30 years ago. Victor waved dismissively. Ancient history, and largely exaggerated, I'm sure. Marcus placed a worn leather journal on the table. My father documented everything. The pressure you put on Robert Miller. The threats your business associates made against my mother. The way you arranged for evidence to disappear. Unsubstantiated allegations from a bitter man, Victor said dismissively, but his eyes never left the journal. Not unsubstantiated anymore, Rebecca interjected. She placed a USB drive next to the journal. Dad kept records too, buried in the company archives. I found them this morning. Sarah looked at her sister in amazement. Rebecca had spent the night searching for evidence against their uncle instead of fighting the will contest? What kind of records? Victor asked, his confidence wavering. Bank transfers, Rebecca said. From your accounts to my father's, dated right after the Westbrook Harbor scandal broke. Correspondence between you and members of the zoning board. And a recorded conversation where you threatened to ruin him if he ever came forward. Victor's face flushed with anger. You're bluffing. Try me, Rebecca challenged. I've spent 15 years learning every inch of this company, including where Dad kept his most sensitive files. Victor glanced between the siblings and Marcus, calculating. Even if such documents existed, the statute of limitations has long passed. There's nothing to be gained by dragging all this up now except destroying your own company. Or maybe we'll build something better from the ruins. Something honest. And what about me? Victor demanded. That depends on you, Rebecca said coolly. Cooperate in setting the record straight, and perhaps we won't need to detail the full extent of your involvement. Victor scoffed. You'd blackmail your own uncle? We'd offer you the same choice you gave Dad 30 years ago, Adam corrected. Except we're not threatening anyone's family. Victor looked around the room, realizing he was outmaneuvered. You're all making a terrible mistake. This won't bring Jack Townsend back. It won't change the past. No, Marcus agreed. But it might help shape the future. He turned to the siblings. I didn't come here to destroy your company. I came because your father asked me to help make things right. He wanted a chance for redemption. Victor snorted derisively. Robert always was a fool. He was a good man who made one terrible mistake, Rebecca said sharply. Under pressure from you. And he spent the rest of his life trying to atone for it. She turned to Marcus. We want to honor that. However we can. Victor grabbed his coat. You'll regret this. All of you. His gaze lingered on Rebecca. Especially you. Everything you've worked for, gone in an instant. After he stormed out, the room fell silent. The three siblings and Marcus Townsend stood in a strange tableau, connected by decades of secrets and lies, yet strangers to one another. Thank you for coming, Rebecca finally said to Marcus. I know it couldn't have been easy. He nodded. Your call surprised me. After what Adam said about the restraining order, I had a change of heart, Rebecca admitted, glancing at her siblings. After you two left for Portland, I kept thinking about what Dad said in that video, about me inheriting his worst traits. She shook her head. I didn't want to believe it, but then I found myself doing exactly what he would have done, anything to protect the company. So what happens now? Sarah asked. Rebecca took a deep breath. We tell the truth. All of it. We clear Jack Townsend's name publicly. We acknowledge our father's role and Victor's. And then, she looked at Marcus. We discuss how Miller Construction can make proper amends to the Townsend family. Marcus studied her for a long moment. You'd risk everything? Your career? The company? It's not just my company, Rebecca said, glancing at her siblings. It's ours, and part of it should have been your father's. She straightened her shoulders. I won't live the rest of my life protecting a lie like Dad did. I can't. For the first time in weeks, the siblings shared a moment of perfect understanding. Whatever came next, lawsuits, financial ruin, public scandal, they would face it together, unburdened by the secrets that had weighed down their father for decades. 6 months later, the Miller house in Westbrook looked different. Fresh paint on the shutters, new flowers in the garden beds, and a sold sign on the front lawn. Sarah stood on the porch, watching the moving truck pull away with the last of their parents' furniture. Strange to think we won't be coming back here, Adam said, joining her with 2 cups of coffee from the local shop. Sarah accepted a cup gratefully. End of an era. Beginning of a new one, he corrected gently. The past 6 months had unfolded in ways none of them could have predicted. The press conference where they'd publicly acknowledged their father's wrongdoing and cleared Jack Townsend's name had made national headlines. Uncle Vic had fled to his vacation home in the Caymans the day before, narrowly might happen? Adam shrugged. I doubt he could have predicted all of it, but I think he hoped we'd find a way to make things right. He would have been proud of you too, Rebecca said unexpectedly. When her siblings looked surprised, she laughed. What? I can admit when I'm wrong. You both showed more courage than I did. That's not true, Adam objected. When it mattered most, you stood with us against Uncle Vic. You found Dad's evidence. You called Marcus. He smiled at his sister. Maybe Dad was right about you having his worst traits, but you've got his best ones too. Rebecca blinked rapidly, looking away. Anyway, I should get back upstairs. We have the Danbury proposal to finalize. And I need to meet with HR about the new benefits package, Marcus added. Dinner at my hotel tonight? We should celebrate properly. As Marcus and Rebecca headed back inside, Adam lingered with Sarah on the steps. Still planning to go back to nursing? He asked. Sarah nodded. Part-time. I'll split my week between the hospital and the Townsend Foundation. The school gave me a year's leave of absence, Adam replied. I'll help get the company transition settled, then decide. He glanced back at the building. I never thought I'd say this, but I'm actually enjoying learning the business. Sarah smiled. Dad would be shocked. In a good way, I hope. They stood in comfortable silence, watching the traffic on the street, each lost in their own thoughts about the past and future. Sarah? Adam said finally. Do you remember that chip in the dining room table? The one I made when I dropped the serving dish. She nodded, puzzled by the change of subject. Dad said it gave the table character. Adam continued. I've been thinking about that a lot lately. About how flaws and mistakes can become part of something. Change it, maybe even make it stronger or more interesting in the end. Sarah understood. Like what happened with us. Exactly. If Dad hadn't made that terrible choice 30 years ago, and then tried to fix it at the end, we wouldn't be here now. The company wouldn't be what it's becoming. A redemption story, Sarah mused. For all of us, Adam agreed. Dad, Marcus, Rebecca, even me. I spent my whole life avoiding responsibility, letting Rebecca handle everything difficult because it was easier that way. Sarah bumped his shoulder affectionately. You've more than made up for it. As they finally walked to their cars, Sarah thought about the new house she had put a down payment on, smaller than their childhood home, but with a guest room for when her siblings visited, and a garden she could tend herself. Rebecca had moved into a downtown apartment, closer to the office, but with a view of the harbor she'd never allowed herself to enjoy before. Adam was still deciding, renting temporarily while he figured out his next steps. Their old life, the one built on their father's success and secrets, was gone. This new life, with its uncertainties and challenges, felt more authentic, more earned. That evening, as the four partners shared dinner and talked about their vision for Townsend-Miller Alliance, Sarah found herself watching her siblings with fresh eyes. Rebecca laughed more easily now, the defensive edge in her voice softened. Adam spoke with newfound confidence, no longer deferring automatically to his older sister. And Marcus, who could have been their adversary, had instead become a catalyst for healing, not just between the Townsend and Miller families, losing a brother all over again. I should have had the courage to face you years ago, to take responsibility for what I did. Instead, I lived with the guilt while you lived with the consequences. Now I'm trying to make things right with your son and with my own children. I want them to know the truth, even if it changes how they see me. Because a life built on lies isn't really a life at all. I hope wherever you are, you can forgive me. Your friend always, Robert. Sarah sat with the letter for a long time, thinking about her father, his mistakes, his regrets, his final act of courage. She thought about Uncle Vic, who had chosen a different path and was now facing the consequences. She thought about her siblings and Marcus and the new foundation they were building together. None of it would bring back Jack Townsend. None of it would erase the past. But maybe, just maybe, it could redeem it. She saved the letter, thinking she would share it with Adam and Rebecca tomorrow. Another piece of their family history, another chip in the table, a flaw that gave character, meaning, depth to their shared story. Outside her window, the lights of Westbrook twinkled. The same town where it had all begun, where their father and Jack Townsend had once dreamed of building something together. Where their children were now, finally, finishing what they started.